Hey guys, I wanted to show you what's new in Scythe version 0.3.0. You can get this on my Patreon right now for $10 a month until I release it on Fab. So first thing is double click support is now in. Like this was a huge pain in the butt, but you know, Jesus. Now you can double click. There you go. Double click, hold down shift, double click, and you'll notice that this is one mesh. It's only selecting half because it's flood fill. Double click is flood fill. So it won't fill, it won't flood to the next one, but you can hold down shift and double click. And, or you just still, control A is still useful. And then if you double click an edge, you get an edge loop. And then if you have, so we can't use Alt when we click. Unreal Editor won't let us. It's frustrating. So we can use Shift, we can use Control, and then we can use Poor Man's Alt, which is caps lock. That's what I made it. So caps lock is the primary Poor Man's Alt, but then I added alternate alts, which is mouse 4 and mouse 5. So you could choose between those. So mouse 4 is actually pretty cool to use, so I'm going to use that. So if I hold down mouse 4 and then double click. What did I do? Oh, I had the wrong setting. I wanted to talk about this one first. So if you double click with Poor Man's Alt, then it selects the all the faces that match the normal of the ones that are the one that you double clicked, but it also is a flood fill. So it's not exactly the same as the normal that you selected. It has some tolerance on the angle. So this one it's 13 tolerance right now for the angle by default, and I'll show you what that means. If you go over here, and if I Poor Man's Alt and do that, you can see it selects all these here except these because it can't go up this ramp. It can't go up that angle. And if I select this here, it selects these, and you'll notice that these, it has to go down an angle here. And that tolerance is within this. So if it were 14 or over, it wouldn't be able to flood fill to it. So if I set this to like 6 tolerance and then try again, it'll only do that. And then we also have an alternate alt double click. I should have named this alternate double click or something like that, because alt double click, that's not good UX. People who don't watch this video are gonna be like, oh, it doesn't work, I'm clicking, I'm hitting alt. So if you do use material instead, go back over here. So Poor Man's Alt, double click on this, and then it selects all the material faces, all the faces that share the material that you double clicked, and you can hold down shift to kind of like add to it, um, and so forth. You can hold down control to toggle. So that's super useful. That's it for the double click for now. I got edit pivot finally. A lot of people were really excited for this one. So go into the edit pivot tool, and then it's based off of the modeling tools one. That was actually surprisingly good, but I just made it a little better. So you can move this here, and this is the pivot. You're moving this pivot. You can select these preset positions, center, bottom, and so on. These are super useful. But you can also now, with the Scythe one, you can hold down Shift, and you can see down here, I add a little tip here in case you forget how to use this thing. Oh, go away. So if I go and hold down Shift, now it shows me a little ghost of the pivot and where it'll be when I click. And then this is snapping. So if I like change the snapping a bit, I grabbed this door from over there where I just was using it before. So let me just fix that up. Go back in here. Okay. So there we go. Just hold down shift and click, and then it matches the vertices on here. So I can actually put it right on a vertice. And if you find like the snapping is overtaking the vertice, and you're like, man, I really want it on that vertice, just hold down control and click, because control will turn off the grid snapping. So I'm holding down shift and control to do this, and it snaps on edges here and vertices. So there you go. So this should help a ton of people out. So now I can do that. I can hit accept. And now we actually have a working door pivot. Then, you can also toggle all that stuff. You can, I added in kind of this match face rotation thing. See if I can do it here. If this is useful. So, see how this like ghost is matching the normal, the face normal. And so now that matches it too. Maybe that's useful. I don't know. There you go. So now that's the pivot. You can do a lot more now with pivots. And if you ever get off a pivot, by the way, off a grid with your new pivot, you can just hit Control End, and it'll snap the pivot to the grid. A lot of people didn't know that. That's an Unreal thing, not a me thing. And then, so it's useful for a door. So you can flip textures horizontally and vertically now. It's not a button over here. It's just a shortcut. I don't. Source 2 Hammer does it this way, so I just copy them. So if I hold Alt and hit E, you can see it's like swapping it back and forth. It's flipping the texture vertically. If I do D, Alt and D, flipping it horizontally. So that's useful for like a door. See how this like little rivet or whatever matches this side now. So if you had a doorknob here, you could make sure it's the same on both. If you have the doorknob with on a texture, that's pretty useful. Next up is probably one of them. I'm excited about this. The double click stuff is really cool, but this is super cool. So if I middle click and drag, I can set a temp pivot. So the pivot is now acting like it's over here. And what can we do with that? If you go into rotation mode and then shift drag, so I'm holding shift and dragging to extrude. Look at that. Beautiful. I'll do a few. And go into local mode, do this. That's you're making interesting things now. Like, how exciting is this? So you can do all sorts of stuff. I set this up just to kind of show this a bit. If you saw my Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever, you saw this. But you can make a hallway that's curved now. You can go into I'm hitting F to make this frame itself on there. You could do this and then go to rotation mode. And I should mention, by the way, the rotation, when I do this, it's this over here. It's not the grid or anything like that. It's this. So you can make like more or less rotation each time you do this. I like 15. So you can do this. Make sure we're seeing visually what we're doing too. All the way around. Super cool. Bigger. And yeah, you being still, it's gonna be difficult, you know. This is this is a face, a line to face here. It's not too bad, but you know, it's really not ideal. But I think we'll get there. You can do cool stuff like this and select all these and then do soft normals and suddenly look at that. Look at that. Look, it's like they belong here. Scythe is really becoming a cool thing. And then a lot of people might not like this. I don't know. It felt like it had to happen. If you know how you drag this before and you had to hold C before, well now it's caps lock. It's poor man's alt to do this little alignment thing. You know, this little yellow thing. So now I can do that. I took it off of C because C is, you know, used for cut, and sometimes you want to do certain things and you would actually go into cut. So I made a caps lock. Nothing uses caps lock. It's just, you know, it's not great. I should note though, you can't use mouse 4 or mouse 5 when you're doing this specific thing. You can only use caps lock for this. And why not? It's because of Unreal. Unreal Editor won't let me. It's not implemented. You just can't do it. I tried hacks. It wasn't happening. So right now it's just caps lock for that. Uh, it is what it is for now. Maybe in the future I can change that. And then I also refactored all the settings. So I put them, you know, in a proper spot now. So now you can jump to settings, you go to project, and here's the project settings. So I added this. So if you have texel density that isn't working or whatever, you can change your parameter to whatever your project is using. You know, if you're from the UK or whatever, you name. Oops, see, that's a problem with having poor man's caps lock. Uh, if you're from the UK or whatever, and you spell color like this, you can add that in there, and now Scythe will look through your materials, look for that parameter, and if it finds it, it will use that texture for the texture size, which is how we get texel density and some other stuff working properly. So that's incredibly important to make sure that this is set right. And you can delete the rest of these if you really care, but you just have to make sure that your thing is in here. Um, yeah, the rest of these, you know, you can change this in the setting in the editor here. This stuff, it's the same stuff. And then I don't even know if I need to talk about much about these settings, honestly. But you can change your, you know, the selection colors if you care about that. Um, of of these specifically. Yeah, if you really hate the thing where you're like clicking here and it keeps selecting the active material, like if you hate that for whatever reason, you can actually turn that off here. Standard gizmo, I have that on true because otherwise it's just a ton of gizmos all in one. But you can change that. And then this is good for teams if you want to set a custom folder name you know, it'll add your map geo into that. And you can also do it for, per user too. So it should, hopefully all this works, by the way. I haven't tested them all, but it should make it so like if you click this, it'll like add it to like, Brandon or whatever. And so if you're working on with a bunch of different level designers, they each have their own folder. Of their own mess. Hope that makes sense. Um, Other than that, that's did a couple other things, but this was a pain in the butt patch, but I'm so happy to get double click working and stuff like that. So that's it. Enjoy. I'll see you later.